Well, we have further malfunctions as your host has completely obliterated the board, Sean. I don't know what the hell I just did.
Well,
Well,
you came back,
I
and we're back on the air.
I did. So we're not going to have bumper music. That's okay. We got a lot to cover. Chris, if you're listening, do you want to jump in and see what the hell I just did? I doubled up all the numbers on the board. I don't know what the hell just happened. I'll explain it to you later, Sean. I honestly, I don't know what happened. I've got under. What is that? Is that
Okay.
see, anyway? I got two. I got red, two reds, and
We'll
two.
get it.
You know, Chris, if you're listening, I know you'd fix it because it's
We'll
beyond
get
my
it.
pay grade. Anyway, all right, welcome back, everybody. This is your Insurance Corner. That's Sean Hauser. My name is Bill Miksch. I'm president of WDMA Financial Group. We're going to get into, as I promised, the difference between a simple trust, a marital trust, and a AB marital or what's called an AB trust. I like to call it a marital trust, Sean, but it truly is it's an AB trust technically. So, and hopefully we have enough time to get to all three because there's a lot of moving parts here. So, that being said, let's talk about what a simple trust is. And between Google and ChatGPT, when you're in a hurry to do stuff, this is a very useful tool, folks. Oh, okay, Chris is here, and he's fixed it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Anyway, so a simple trust is a trust that is required to distribute all of its income to beneficiaries each year and cannot make charitable contributions or distribute principal. Cannot make charitable contributions. The key features to a simple trust are income distribution, must distribute all income, interest, dividends, etc., to beneficiaries annually. No principal distributions. The trustee cannot distribute the principal or the corpus during the year. No charitable donations can be issued from the simple trust. They cannot make distributions to charities. And the taxation of a simple trust, income is taxed at the to the beneficiaries, not to the trust itself, since all income is distributed. So when we talk about a simple trust, folks, it's more along the lines of a grantor trust, not a charitable trust, just a grantor trust. I'm the grantor. I want to make sure that Sean gets all my money. I have decided to give Sean all of the income out of this money, and that at some point the simple trust will expire, and the principal is then distributed per the definition of the trust to whoever the beneficiaries are at that point. It could still be Sean, or it could be 10 other people. But these are not usually used when you're talking about families, unless you've got a lot of wealth, and then we get into whole kinds of other different charity or different kinds of trusts, and we'll get to those in a different show. The biggest one that most people are going to use are the marital trust, and specifically the AB trust. Now, the AB trust is a problem right now, today, as we speak, because as we speak, people that have any kind of wealth, Sean, as you probably know, have planned for a $13 million estate, let's say. I think it's actually 13.7, but keep it simple. $13 million estate for a single family, or $27 million, so 13.5, $27 million for a couple. And in an AB trust, if you have enough wealth, you separate the assets such that you can escape the dreaded estate tax when you both expire. And you can pass up to $27 million estate tax free. Now, before I get into the details of this, let me explain. There is estate taxes and there are income taxes. Let's talk about income tax first. if you have an annuity, if you have an IRA, if you have a 401k, if you have an investment account with dividends, anything that has an income base to it, you are possibly going to pay income tax on those assets when you receive them. Now, in a investment account, non-IRA, usually you have a step up in basis in terms of the value of the account. That's true, but until let's say that Sean, the example is, let's say you have $5 million in an investment account, a Schwab account. It's not IRA. It's $5 million. Upon your death, the basis might have been 1.2 million that you put in, and you made $3.5 million, and so now it's worth $500,000. When you die, it's not worth $500,000. And then whoever is beneficiary to that's going to get the $500,000. But it's going to take a while for that distribution to take place. It's not going to happen overnight. So while we're waiting for the distribution to take place, if there are any dividends or any interest or capital gains, short or long-term gains going on inside of that account, the beneficiary may end up paying a small income tax. But they don't have to pay the difference between what you put into it and what it's worth today. It's now worth, it went from 1.5 to $5 million, so that person is very happy. If you have an IRA or 401k, however, assuming it's not Roth money, it's just pre-tax money, it's all income taxable and can be settled in the year in which you take the full distribution, in which case your income tax is your income that you earned that year is going to go up significantly, or you can spread it over a 5 or 10 year period. I think they now pushed it to a 10-year period over the course of time. And that minimizes the income tax burden to you and may not increase your income in terms of your overall year-over-year income. However, that trust has to stay in place until all of the assets are distributed, which means the trust has its own tax identification and also has to pay income tax based on how the moving parts are in that trust. But 401k money and IRA money is taxable, 100%. And I've had, Sean, people tell me that this is before they died. They thought if they hit 65, their 401k was now going to be tax-free.
That's wishful thinking.
I'm not sure where they heard that from, but we had to be the bearer of bad news and go, I'm not sure who told you that, but that's not right. And if it came from Facebook, don't be going to those Facebook pages looking for answers like that. Now, if you have an annuity is income taxable. If it's an IRA, it's going to be 100% income taxable. If it's an annuity with what is called non-qualified money, which is basically non-IRA or non-401k money, it's income taxable subject to growth. So if you put in $100,000 and it's now worth $200,000, you're going to pay income tax on $100,000 in that example. The insurance company will help you establish what the basis was, and they will tell you what the income tax consequence is when they distribute the funds. If you have a Roth IRA, it'll be distributed income tax-free, every penny of it, income tax-free, including any dividends or whatever is going on in there. So, and it does not have any impact on your income in the year in which you take the funds. So that's income tax. Now you have, and by the way, if you own property, I'm not going to get into that part except to say that oftentimes the property will get a step up in basis also. But if you've got rental properties, that gets into a complicated area. I haven't done enough study in that space, unless, Sean, you want to chime in on that I don't want to spend a lot of time in that space. But for those of you that got real estate, you may escape income tax unless it's rental property, but you may get a step up in the value of the house.
Yeah. with that, you definitely need to talk to your tax attorney because, with rental properties, there's depreciation, depletion, all of those expenses that may be taken out. So just determining the basis in it can be, you get competent advice.
This is beyond my pay grade, folks. So I'm an insurance guy. So now we talk about estate tax. Estate tax is everything you own in your name or your family's name, your home, your 401k. If you have $2 million life insurance policy, you own $2 million. It's in your estate. If you own a business, they will help establish what is the fair market value of the business after they do an analysis. And if you don't do one on your behalf, the IRS will likely do one for you. And you may not like the result of that, but you're gone, so what the heck do you care? But your family might. So there are planning methodologies to help you figure all this stuff out. And if your estate as an individual goes to $13 million, you can put all of those assets into your trust. Now, a couple things of fair warning. Things that have beneficial interest don't necessarily have to go into the trust. You put those into the trust so that you can take advantage of your estate tax exemption. But here again, this is where you want to get competent legal advice to make sure everybody understands the reason for this is this, and the reason I am doing this is because of this. Remember, anything that has beneficial interest supersedes the will or trust. Unless those assets are inside the trust, then the trust dictates. So you want to make sure you get very good, competent advice in this space. But understand that if you have $13 million, let's say it's 13 and a half, you can put that into your marital trust, and that's what I own. My wife comes in and she's worth $10 million. We put $10 million into her trust. So we're able to pass in that example $23 million to our kids, estate tax free. But for those clients that have mega wealth on their hands, where they're 50 million, 100 million, I can't even imagine, Sean, what people like Elon Musk and those billionaires have to go through. That is a discussion that very few people would be able to understand, and at the same time, the person who is lucky enough to be in that position has to understand everything because of the moving parts. And if they've gotten to a point where they've gotten to be that wealthy, trust me, they've got good advisors around them if they're doing their good homework to make sure they understand the moving parts. They might not understand them like the accountants and the attorneys do, but they understand well enough that this is what's going to happen when I die. In fact, what I hear, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates both came out in the last few weeks saying they're going to distribute all of their wealth by the year, Bill Gates specifically said by the year 2045. It probably means he's giving it away to charities. Warren Buffett's already 90-something, so he's well on his way to giving away his money. And I'm sure there are charitable remainder trusts from here to the moon that he's already built up. But a marital trust, you can split your assets. Today, $13.5 million per person, $27 million for a couple. Sean, here's the conundrum. They're going through the big, beautiful bill, whatever the heck that means, up in Washington, D.C. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I have not seen a peep about what the estate tax thresholds are going to be. I know there's anecdotal stuff that I've been told, but I have not heard a peep about what's going to happen.
I thought it preserved the $15 million limit. I thought it preserved that the existing state tax exemption up to $15 million.
So $7.5 million per person, basically.
I don't remember if there was a delineation. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah. So, but I in terms of the media has not presented any information about this. It's all about, it's been about income tax and no tax on Social Security and no tax on tips and no tax on overtime and cuts here and cuts there. But for people that have done their planning, they've planned for a $13 million estate tax.
It says make the existing limit $15 million or $30 million for joint.
Oh, there you go. So they're basically pushing it from 13.5 to 15 million. The people that have done the planning for 13.5 million, they're going to be in good shape. But if this law for some reason doesn't get passed, and I can't imagine that it won't, but I've said before, Republicans know how to ruin a party. Leave it to them to screw things up if they're going to screw this up. If this doesn't get passed for whatever the reason, at the end of the year, it's going to go back to a $6.5 million estate tax threshold, and people that have planned for $13.5 million or $27 million estate tax threshold have a monster problem on their hands. Yes, it's a rich person's tax. I don't have a problem with that. They've earned the right to it. Even if it was inherited, they've earned the right to it. It is what it is. For those who have built their way up, like Sean, for example, I know Sean's worth multi-million dollars. Maybe.
Right. I wish I had this problem.
Yeah, right. But for those of you who have worked your butts off from starting in a garage to where you're at today, you've earned the right to keep a lot of that stuff. But the government's still going to have a finger in your coffin before you leave, so just be aware there are methodologies to plan for that, and you can set things aside. As I said earlier, though, beneficiary interests supersede the trust and the will. So then it's a matter of making sure you get the right information, the right tax information, tax counsel and legal counsel based on your wishes, not the wishes of your children, the wishes of your ex-wife or your parents who might still be alive. It's based on what you want to do, or maybe as a couple, what you as a couple want to make happen. There are circumstances where a couple might say, kids aren't going to get anything. I'm going to give it all to my church. Happens. I'm going to give it away to this charity over here. It happens. Either because they've had a falling out with the children, or the children are okay on their own, or a litany of other reasons, and they just decided this is what's going to happen. But if you don't do anything, and you sit there and I'll get to it when I'm ready, and then bad things happen to good people, there are things that are going to transpire as a result of no planning activity that are going to make things a mess. Now, the AB trust and the simple trust I just explained. Let me explain what a marital trust is. A marital trust is a trust set up to benefit the surviving spouse, usually to take advantage of the marital deduction for estate tax purposes. Sean, this is also called the Qualified Terminal Income Protection Trust. I haven't
heard Q-tip for years.
Yep. It's called the Q-tip. I call it the Silver Tongue Devil Protection Trust. So I pass away, all of my assets go into Sally's trust, and she's now worth $1 bazillion. And some 20-something, 30-something, 40-something dude is going to come and try to sweep her off her feet. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell this guy is she's got a pretty mean left hook. And when she gets pissed...
Oh, you're dead, so you can't tell him anything. But...
Well, yeah, I'm just forewarning my avid listeners.
In case they're listening.
If those of you who think that I'm going to leave and then I'm going to leave a window open for you, trust me, you're going to have to get through her left hook. And if you can, good luck. That's assuming you've not been knocked out. By the way, just a little side note, Sally's actually knocked out what they call a squid or sailor from Great Lakes Naval Academy before I met her. She
wow.
knocked the guy out. So, yes, my wife is a fighter. I've not been hit by her, just for the record, because I know my P's and Q's. But the Q-tip is strictly designed so that the spouse maintains an income for the rest of her life, and the principal may or may not, the principal distribution may or may not allow the principal to be distributed to the spouse. So there may be some action inside the Q-tip that will allow some principal to be distributed, but it's up to the decedent to make that happen. The estate tax deferral with regard to a Q-tip is assets in a marital trust qualify for the unlimited marital deduction, delaying the estate tax until the spouse dies. Let me explain what that means. So $15 million drops into Sally's trust. So she's now worth $15 million. Let's just say for discussion purposes, the estate tax is $10 million. So she's got an estate tax problem of $5 million, but while she's living, she burns through $7 million of that money. She's now got protection under the estate tax rules that she will not have an estate tax. She paid a boatload of income tax probably, depending on what assets were in that trust, but because she took enough money out or she gave money to charities, that she was able to get rid of the estate tax overall when she passes away. This Q-tip is often used in estate planning to provide for a spouse while controlling the final disposition of assets, especially in second marriages. So I'd imagine if you're married for 40 or 50 years, you're probably not going to worry about some silver-tongued devil coming to try to sweep you off your feet. You don't know. But second or third marriages, you're probably a little bit more aware of the dynamics. So you want to pay attention to that. Let me just highlight a couple of things here. For income distribution, a simple trust is required annually to beneficiaries. In a marital trust, it's required for the surviving spouse. They can be totally different people. Principal distribution under a simple trust is not allowed, but under a marital trust can be allowed, depends on the trust terms. Beneficiaries. For a simple trust, any or often children or others are listed insofar as the beneficiaries are concerned. In the marital trust, its surviving spouse is mandatory. There can't be anybody else. And that's specifically, we're talking about a Q-tip here, folks. Charitable contributions under a simple trust, as I mentioned earlier, are not allowed. In a marital trust, allowed depending on the terms of the trust. Duration. A simple trust can be for a set time or lifetime. This is your proverbial in perpetuity trust. Again, get good legal counsel because the government frowns on those kind of things. Marital trust typically lasts for the spouse's life. So, Sean, as we come to the end of tonight's show, any thoughts?
Nothing to add, but it's interesting that you got into this discussion because I had a discussion about, do I need a revocable trust, or do I need a pour over will? And we actually got into the nitty gritty of kind of my resources and my situation, and we determined to go forward with a few things and decided a couple were unnecessary. And it's really good to get that feedback from someone who does this on a daily basis, because not only has she written these things, but she's also seen, when her clients come to her when somebody has written something bad or incorrect or gets challenged, and you get that learning from your advisors in this respect. So don't shortcut it. Talk to someone who handles estate and future planning like this. It's important.
Yeah, and I'm the first one to tell you, when I do presentations or seminars, the first thing I say is, I'm not an attorney. This is not what I do. But I've done enough of this and I've seen enough of this that if you don't do something, you're going to have a problem. And if you do something, you're probably going to run into certain situations or questions that you didn't think of that the professional will be able to raise, and now you and your spouse and you and your family can make a good conscious decision as to what you want to do or how it's going to be handled. Because at the end of the day, folks, nobody's guaranteed a permanent place on this earth. We're all going to meet our maker someday. Hopefully most of us will make it to the pearly gates. But with that said, Sean, it's as usual a pleasure. As I like to say, I'm the mouthpiece, you're the brains, and thank you again for all of your time. Tell Kelly we say hello, and you all have a great week, a wonderful weekend coming up. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Dayton, but it's supposed to be pretty nice here. You all have a great night, everybody. This is your Insurance Corner at 101.5 FM WLCB, Slade's Corner. Have a great night, everybody. Talk to you later.